Good evening. Welcome to the June 3rd, 2025 meeting of the East Bridgewater Board of Health. On the agenda today, we have 2 interviews for health agent. One now at 6, and our second one will be beginning at 6:45. We have our first candidate here, Karen Jacobs.
Hi.
Nice to have you in. Nice to meet you. My name is Tom Duquette. I'm the chairman of the Board of Health. We've got Andrew Hudson as our vice chair, and joining us on Zoom is our secretary, Rob Lyons.
Hello.
Welcome to East Bridgewater and the Board of Health. We are conducting at least our first round of interviews this week, looking for someone to take over our vacant Board of Health position. We've sketched out roughly a 30-minute time frame, but we've got some flexibility. We've got some questions for you, and if you have any questions for us, we'll give you some opportunity to ask us some questions, and hopefully get a chance to know you a little bit better.
Perfect.
All right. So the first question I have is just to let us know why you're interested in the position and how your skills and experience will prepare you to be the health agent for East Bridgewater.
Sure. So my journey in public health began as a public health educator. I worked in Brockton and Fall River, New Bedford, a lot of the communities where we saw high rates of SNAP redemption and childhood obesity. And as I felt very siloed in nutrition, and that there was more to public health that I wanted to get into. So I started my education into public health, which is almost complete. I'm 3 credits away from my MPH. I was slated to complete this past spring, but I had a baby, so I took some time off. So my program will be completed soon. So I started a journey towards local public health, where I feel the most impact can be made in terms of public health. We, of course, respect our state and our federal policies and follow those closely, but on the local level, I feel that that's where I wanted to be, where I could make the largest impact. So I began in Weymouth just over 2 years ago, and I started there as their substance use prevention coordinator. But over the past 2 years, I've been guided by the assistant director and the director and given many opportunities to go out on various food inspections, housing inspections, tobacco inspections, environmental concerns and calls and complaints. So as I sort of branched out from substance use prevention, which again sort of provided me that same siloed feeling that I had in nutrition, I felt that branching out and seeking a position similar to the one that you're offering would be much more desirable for me and my goals.
Rob, did you want to jump in?
If you could, Karen, give us a little bit of a snapshot on what your experience has been with Title V septic systems and or town sewer systems, or stormwater, if you have any of that experience.
Sure. So I just recently obtained my Title V certification. It's not even on my resume yet. But as a certified health officer, I was privy to obtaining that certification prior to the interview.
No, excuse me, is that certification, Karen? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Is it inspector? Is it soil evaluator? Is it, what level of Title V certification did you achieve?
The inspector. Soil I still have to obtain. That's something separate that I'd have to go through, but of course have the capabilities to do so. I'm familiar that East Bridgewater is primarily a septic town, like for most of the residents that I've seen. However, I would say that I definitely need some guidance in Title V, and that I've only just recently obtained that certification. I've been in communications with, Bob Varley over in Halifax, and he's been very excited and eager to provide me guidance, take me out to do some of the perk tests and get familiar with what that might entail throughout the town.
And then are you familiar with MS4?
Only, only at the surface level. I'm not too proud to admit that it is an area of weakness that I most certainly can work on. But again, leaning into the individuals around us who are eager to work with me and help me become more competent in that area.
And I know you mentioned your RS, and I see that it's in here. Again, I apologize if I missed it. How close are you to RS?
I'm prepared to take the exam at any point. I've been studying for, over a year. Took a little time off again for maternity leave and such. So I took the CPH exam last summer and hold my certified health officer, but would probably need, just a few more months to prepare for the RS exam.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Could you tell us a little bit about your experience in setting and establishing public health priorities?
Sure. So throughout Weymouth, again, with my primary responsibilities falling into substance use prevention, I've been tasked with the mayor's decision-making group in guiding the town's opioid settlement funds. So what I've done is I've created 2 large-scale surveys, essentially needs assessments, to put the feelers out into the community and see where a lot of those gaps may lie. These skills, of course, I view as transferable across many public health issues, ensuring that the surveys are disseminated equitably, so we put them out in a variety of languages, with English and Portuguese being the top priority in Weymouth. Just to understand the community, where the community needs those funds to go. So can you repeat the second sort of part of that? I'm sorry.
What what experience have you had in establishing public health priorities?
That's right. So when we look at these public health priorities, Weymouth is a unique population, very different than East Bridgewater, but what we do is we establish where the greater need lies. Again, focusing on equity when it comes to putting out the resources that are needed, and always hearing from those community stakeholders and ensuring that those needs are met on that public level.
Thank you.
Could you describe your experience or any experience you have with budget development or related financial management?
I'll have to again speak on the abatement funds. So essentially over the next 18 years, we'll be coming into about 1.9, just under $2 million. So part of my job is ensuring that any of the approved proposals that come in or out of the town are staying well within what we will be receiving.
Excuse me, Rob, technical difficulty, so I'm just...
That's fine. Stay well within what the town's going to be coming in and out, evaluating the programs to ensure that they are operating, in a fiscally sound way, but also reaching any of the targets that we had placed upon those programs.
And Rob is with us on the phone? Is that
Yes.
okay?
Yep.
Rob, did you want to jump in with a question?
I'm sorry, Tom, that's me?
Oh,
Yep. Serving the ball over to you.
Okay. So Karen, can you give us an example of a time when an emergency popped up and it was kind of put on your plate and you had to handle it from beginning to end? What did you do? How did you handle it? Who did you engage with?
So within my role currently, the emergencies don't necessarily go to my desk, but what I have done is provide more of a support structure, say from the office, and ensuring that the inspectors in the field have what they'll need, coordinating with police and fire to ensure that the inspectors are in communication with them, updates in that way, and then, ensuring that they're safe out there as they go about what they have to do in the field. But as being hands-on, most of my experience is the day-to-day, more scheduled and regimented. than emergency.
And what currently, I'm just trying to flip through here, what your current title is?
Substance use prevention coordinator.
Okay, all right, okay, I got you. And that's in the town of Weymouth?
Correct.
Okay. Who's next?
Okay. Could you possibly describe a time or an issue where you anticipated a problem and developed preventative measures?
Yes, so we have a group of very passionate stakeholders within our community coalition. And oftentimes when the discussion around the abatement funds come up, I can almost set my clock to a few individuals who will be certain that their voices are heard, whether it's in a kind way or not. So in efforts to mitigate any arguments or fights, I think it's best to, at least in the situation that I'm describing, ensure that each individual is feeling not only heard but valued in what's going on. This has also come up in different housing inspection situations I've had. Many of the occupants feel that they're unheard maybe by a landlord or an owner, and we'll take the time to ensure that the occupant, we're understanding them, we're on their level, we're there to help and ensure that, safe and equitable housing is open to them.
Could you tell us about an example where you've used your partnerships in town and with other community agencies to further the effectiveness of your position in your department?
Sure. I coordinate almost daily with our surrounding communities, Quincy, Braintree, Milton, Randolph, always communicating with their health departments, what their substance use prevention or even their housing programs are looking like. We often participate in the community-based, like the larger food truck inspection events that happen. So all of the towns kind of get together and just kind of do like that bulk inspection at the beginning of the season to ensure everybody's ready to go. I think operating in silos is one of the biggest issues local public health has had in Massachusetts. So keeping those lines of communications open between the various health departments is going to be essential to everybody working together.
So, Karen, if I can just kind of piggyback on that question, your comment about silos. Why do you think? Is it just your experience that different towns, the health department is kind of works on a silo basis, or have you seen it operate more on a horizontal plane?
I think, well, from what I see in Weymouth, things are done a little bit differently there than what I'm hearing from other departments. So it started to feel very much like, so for example, from the public health excellence standpoint, Weymouth has very much been like sort of in and out. And I'm not speaking poorly on the town, it's just there's been some decision makers who've had a hard time buying into that type of collaboration. And I think it's going to, in the long term, not buying into those collaborations be harmful to the constituents versus helpful. So I think just that's the type of silo that I've been seeing in my experience.
Okay, so just for clarity, Weymouth is not part of a collaborative?
Correct.
Okay.
And it's not for not, as we've tried.
I understand. I get that.
We've definitely had, I think, pretty good experiences with our health group a couple times now. So
That's great.
Rob, did you want to jump into your regularly scheduled question, or should we go and come back to you?
I'm sorry, what was that, Tom?
I said, did you want to jump into your regularly scheduled question, or did you want us to come back to you?
I'm not quite sure I understand, but I wanted to see if, because I did go dark there for a minute. Have we discussed, Karen, your background in researching and applying for different types of grants?
Yes. That's something that I do quite frequently for Weymouth, for my role and for the entire department. One example is we're a beach-facing town, so I worked with an organization called Impact Melanoma to place free sunscreen stands at our beaches and our parks to try to reduce the risk of various skin diseases that might come from excessive sun exposure in town. Other ones, we've obtained car seat safety grants, so we have a few. I helped draft the grant to certify a few of our health department employees as certified car seat technicians, so people can bring their car seats over to the health department and have them checked and fitted and all of that. And then, of course, I've helped draft the grant process and put out RFPs for the abatement funds.
How do you keep your job skills current, and do you have any skills that you would like to improve upon?
Always leaning into the trainings that are available. I just completed all the tier 1s on train. I actually did most of those before leave, but I went back in and refreshed because that was, and then always leaning into the trainings, like MHOA has great trainings, and I was just on the DPH call this afternoon, just staying up to date on what the state is offering and disseminating. As mentioned before, those areas that I need to strengthen up do lie in that more environmental aspect, but it's an area that I'm eager to start to get into. In fact, my upcoming practicum, I'll be working with the Superfund site in Weymouth, the former Naval Air Base, and the mitigation of the PFAS in the groundwater.
So, could you elaborate on that role with PFAS and groundwater issues?
Yeah, so that's going to be part of my practicum in this upcoming fall. I've been in communications with the RAB group, which the acronym meaning escapes me, but it's the Navy, the U.S. Navy, and the EPA are there at I think it's called Union Point now. It used to be Southfield, and it was the former Naval Air Base. They've been working to mitigate some of the contamination left over from when it was operating as a Naval Air Base, primarily from that firefighter foam. There was just like pipes of it running across like underground. So the exact project is still yet to be outlined. I'm meeting with them Thursday to start figuring out what my practicum and how my role what my role will be there for that semester. But it will just be sort of a part-time to meet my practicum guidelines for my graduate degree.
Okay, so that's part of your master's is what I was
Yes, yep.
driving at. Okay. And your targeting completion date for your master's?
It'll be spring, so in about a year.
26.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so we talked a little bit about PFAS, water. I'll pass this off to somebody else.
Sure. Could you tell us a little bit about your communication skills and just your communication style? How you go about making sure you're communicating with staff in the office, the board, the town administrator, other town departments, residents, contractors, all the community stakeholders.
A wide range. I think each stakeholder is going to require a different form of communication, each, of course, being, professional and calm. But when speaking, say, with the board, I'll be a little bit more formal. But with residents, I try to incorporate a little bit of lighthearted and humor to it. I don't intend or ever really try to, intimidate or anything like that. It's about education and, ensuring compliance and whatever we're trying to enforce out there. I have excellent verbal and written skills. I have experience creating social media posts, social norms campaigns, just various forms of communication are sort of my strengths. I think it just depends on the stakeholder. Understanding that our main bulk of public health communications are going to be at a certain reading level and ability versus communicating interdepartmentally might use a different tone.
Do you want to jump in next, or?
I'm sorry?
I think there's a good, there's a good follow-up if we could jump in, that sort of takes off on that. But could you tell us a little bit about your your computer skills? I know you mentioned social media posts. How are you with other applications and things like that that you might have to use and to work with?
Yeah, so I'm extremely proficient in the Microsoft suite. I'm pretty strong at technology. I lean a lot into Canva to create any sort of messages or social media content. Not that I think that would be a huge part of this role, but at least, in creating small flyers, if there's something that's not already provided by DPH or the town. I would say, I guess the only caveat would be is that I think I read that your inspections have recently gone electronic, and Weymouth is on paper carbon copy. So I do learn quickly when it comes to technology, so I've been using technology basically my whole life.
Fair enough, yeah. Now
I think we're still in transition there, but
Yeah.
Okay.
Sandy, just correct me if I'm wrong, right? That's still a work in progress.
It's still a work in progress.
Oh, good. That is,
Yeah, so
that's the goal anyway.
all right, yeah.
Where are we, Rob?
Rob.
We're jumping around a little bit.
That's all
Rob, did you want to jump in with a question?
I think I've covered, all of my curiosities here, so.
Andy, anything for you?
No further questions from me.
All right. Do you have any questions for us?
I do. I have one. What does the board think the top 3 public health priorities for East Bridgewater are?
Top 3. I would say, that's a good question. As far as the office, I mean, I do think, as far as day-to-day work, it is a lot of the Title V sewer inspection, or I should say, and sewer inspections. We are just sort of dipping our toes into having a sewer system in a limited basis in part of town, but we're hoping to move forward and develop not only that system, but also just develop the town in general. A lot of the other day-to-day stuff is just going to be, basic food inspections, restaurants, things like that. I do like that you have the substance abuse background. Obviously, that's a battle that I think everybody's, fighting.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyone else have any different thoughts on top priorities?
No, I'd probably agree that order septic, food inspections, and housing issues
Sure.
by volume.
Right.
Yeah.
Rob?
No, I'm good. Just Karen, we've got some large projects that are ahead of the town that are important to obviously both our citizenry, our customers, and the town as a whole. So we need somebody who's going to be able to fill in their gaps as quickly as possible, hit the ground running as soon as possible, be able to work between the different departments as seamlessly as possible. And between DPW, building, planning, conservation, and obviously Board of Health.
Yeah. All right, just a couple of closing details. Just want to reiterate that this is a full-time position. It's 35 hours a week, and it is a non-union position. One question for you: if you were offered the position, when would you be available to start?
I'd like to provide Weymouth with 2 weeks.
All right. And in terms of scheduling, we are open here at the Town Hall Mondays, 8:30 a.m. to 8, with a 1-hour unpaid lunch. Tuesdays through Thursdays, it's 8:30 to 4:30 p.m., again with a 1 hour unpaid lunch. And then Friday is a shorter day, 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. So, and you are okay with that schedule?
Yes.
All right. And then in terms of hiring, if we did give you an offer, it would be contingent on a Corey check requirement and obviously paperwork with our treasurer's office and collector's office. So in terms of the next steps, we're interviewing candidates. We interviewed yesterday and then today, and we're hoping to make a decision pretty quickly. So you should hear back from us within, if not the end of this week, probably the end of next week.
Great.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Well, it was a pleasure to meet you.
Likewise.
Appreciate you coming in and interviewing, and we'll be in touch.
Great. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
It was a pleasure to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
Be well.
Nice talking to you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Do you want to take,
Want to take a 20-minute break? Or?
Sure.
All right, we are going to adjourn. We will be back with our next interview at 6:45. All right, welcome back to the East Bridgewater Board of Health. We're starting a little bit early. We've got our second candidate here for an interview, Christopher Schultz. Welcome in to East Bridgewater and to the Board of Health.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I am Tom Duquette. I'm the current chairman of the Board of Health. We've got Andrew Hudson is the vice chair, and zooming in is our secretary, Rob Lyons. We are just getting interviews, our first round of interviews today and yesterday. We have it scheduled for basically a 30-minute time frame, but we're pretty flexible on that end. We will ask you some questions, and then at the end, we'll give you an opportunity to ask us any questions that you have.
Okay.
And just hopefully get a chance to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure.
All right. So just to start us off, could you tell us a little bit about why you're interested in the position and how your experience and skills might make you a good candidate to be the next health agent for East Bridgewater?
Sure. So I'm currently the health agent for Abington. My 4th year working in the health department there. Honestly, I saw your posting. I'm always looking for opportunities to learn more, do more. We have a pretty good thing going on in Abington, but I'm always looking to, get involved in more. So I saw an opportunity, thought I'd check it out. You're close enough. As much as I love Abington, there's some challenges to living and working in the same town.
Fair enough. Just out of curiosity, what's the office look like in Abington?
Currently, we have 3 full-time staff. We have a public health nurse who is our director, and she's also the director of the emergency management department. Myself, the health agent, and then we have a assistant health coordinator / recycling educator.
All right. Robbie, do you want to jump in?
Sure. Hey, Chris, in East Bridgewater, most of our housing and businesses are septic system.
Mhm.
And this position would be pretty heavy on Title V, system inspection, certification, soil evaluator, certification. We're hearing it's the position would also require an RS at some point down the line.
Mhm.
And can you speak to your experience with Title V in Abington?
Sure. I'm currently licensed as a system inspector. I'm supposed to be hopefully taking the soil evaluator in the fall. Abington is primarily sewer. We do have, probably about 20% of our houses are still on septic. I don't typically do the inspections currently, but, I review the plans, do the perk tests, or at least witness them.
So who does do that certification in Abington? Yeah, and I realize it's only 20%.
Yeah.
There has to be somebody that's doing the plan review, working with the engineers.
Yeah,
Like you said, the perk tests.
Yeah, I do the plan reviews, I witness the perk tests. As far as like the Title V inspections, those are done by a third party. And that's been the practice in Abington, just, at least in Abington, to avoid a conflict of interest. I don't
I'm
know
sorry,
if-
it's done by who?
By a third party, so it would be,
Okay,
an inspector from outside of town.
okay. So what would you say your expertise rating would be on plan reviews?
Plan reviews, I'd say I'm pretty good. I don't get a lot of them, but I do have them. We do review them, talk to the engineers if there's issues. I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I'm, pretty familiar with them. I do
Because
take,
they all come through our office. It's something that our health agent reviews the plans that the engineer submits. Before the plans are submitted, they work with the engineers on anything that needs to be adjusted. Then the plans are submitted to the board, and we have a look at them as well, or an opportunity to look at them. So that's something that's it would be it's got to be at least 60, 65, maybe even 70% of the job. But on that same avenue where Abington is sewer, how closely do you work with that department, and are you familiar with MS4?
NS4, I'm not. I have a pretty good working relationship with the sewer department. We've recently digitized most of our street files and data, so we've been doing a lot of back and forth, trying to make sure everybody has what they need.
Okay. And you said you do have your system inspector,
Yes, I do.
and you're working on your,
I'm on the wait list for the soil evaluator for the fall.
okay. Yeah, if you reach out to Bob Euchre or Bob Valley, they might be able to, if the town has a need, work with somebody at Newey Pick to squeeze you in.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to jump in?
Could you tell us a little bit about your experience in setting or establishing public health priorities?
Well, I came into this position during COVID, so that was our priority at the time. Basically, on a given day, our priorities, we have say like a calendar for inspections. We try to do those in a 6-month thing, so we know we're going to be doing regular food inspections, body art, etc. And then anything else that comes in, we triage depending on how it's going. A noise complaint or a resident complaint gets bumped up in priority. One of the nice things about my position is I'm able to rearrange my schedule to fit whatever comes in at the day. Right now, just for example, we're dealing with a lot of housing complaints, and rats seem to have all of a sudden come a thing. So that's kind of what we're prioritizing at the moment.
And just to take off on that, could you tell us a little bit about your experience with housing issues?
Sure. I've taken the Tier 1 and Tier 2 training for housing inspectors. We're just on the Tier 3 is supervised inspections. So Abington doesn't do pre-rental inspections currently. I was trying to push my board to do that, but right now it's complaint-based. Usually tenant issues. We've had a few hoarding issues. I don't want to say that we have a lot of them, but they come up fairly frequently.
They can be time-consuming, obviously.
Yeah, they can be. I've been fortunate enough not to get dragged into court anytime recently, but usually we're able to resolve stuff, but it does, it goes on.
How about budgeting? Do you have any experience with developing budgets or just financial management in general?
A little bit. So I was, when I first took the position after our health agent resigned, I was co-department head along with our public health nurse. When she became the EMD, it just made more sense to have her be the department head because those two departments are sort of combined. So she's doing budget now, but I had input in it before. Abington's been in a level budget situation for a while, so we haven't really had a lot of flexibility. Try to put an emphasis on our training budget because there's a lot of courses you have to take to keep your credits and stay up to date on. We do a lot of emergency preparation in our department, so we've been involved with the Region 5C and doing some of their stuff. So not as involved as much now, but yeah, I've worked on it in the past. We get a pretty small budget for what we're doing.
Okay. Should be familiar then.
Yeah.
Rob, did you want to jump in?
I don't think you heard.
Yeah, Chris, I just want to circle back. When did you get your Title V inspector certification?
Let's see, I'm trying to look at this picture of the certificate. It was think the fall of last year.
Oh, okay, all right, so you're within the 4 or 5 years.
Yep, and then we do a certain number of hours of it, continuing it every year.
Okay. All right, that answers my next question. Now, in Abington, can you give us an example of when an emergency arose, like maybe on a late Friday afternoon, it landed in your plate, it may not have been all of everything under your purview, but it landed in your plate and you had to manage it from beginning to end? Can you kind of take us through that process that you went through and how you handled it?
Sure. Well, one of the things, I live in Abington, so, dispatch knows my number. I've gotten called out, let's see, one that I can think of, we got a no heat situation, about 2 winters ago. It was like 5 degrees out at the time. Fire was on the scene. I forget why they were called in, but they reached out to me. So we got there. We had to, didn't write a correction order on scene, but we got a hold of the property owner, got all the residents housed. Then he had to follow up the next day to make sure that they had to go in and write up the correction order, write up the order to vacate. Got all that done. Worked with the landlord and the fire department and the electrical department from building to get everything done within 3 or 4 days and got those people back in again. So while that kind of building sort of took over on the physical aspect of it, it was still health department as far as the, getting the residents housed and given them heat. So we got that done pretty quick. I have a pretty good working relationship with both our building department, fire, and police, so that helps. Most of the stuff I've gotten called on for off hours is housing related.
Gotcha. So as far as compliance goes, what would you say your philosophy is on getting folks that are out of compliance into compliance?
We put a big emphasis on education in our department. We try that aspect. Work with somebody, assume that they're not knowledgeable of what they need to do. If that doesn't work, it's an order. I've been, at least in the housing realm, have been largely successful in getting compliance without having to go to housing court, which is nice. Our restaurants, the food establishments, we fine on priority violations. We don't have to do a lot of that. Again, we do education. We go in with a re-inspection to make sure that they're doing what they do. And for the most part, I mean, maybe I'm just lucky, but we've had pretty good compliance. Not afraid to take someone to court, but, we haven't had to.
Yeah, that's a long road that almost never ends.
Yeah.
Okay, who's up next, guys?
Could you describe a time or an issue where you anticipated a potential problem and developed preventative measures?
Most of our housing situations, for sure. One of the things that's been sort of unique that I've had to deal with in the last few months has been hoarding situations, and that usually is never a good outcome. You get a lot of resistance from the occupant getting access to the unit to see it. I've just been fortunate. We've had a couple of people that were willing to go in. So I had an anticipation going in that this was going to go to court. We were going to have to get administrative orders. We were going to have a bad outcome. We managed to, by just taking a more humanitarian approach and working with these people. I had picked up something at a conference about developing like almost like a verbal contract. We should give them steps to get through. And by utilizing that, we've had at least 2 cases where we've been able to get the house cleaned out, get them in order, and then we just set up a schedule to check in every so often and, knock on wood. 6 months later, we're doing okay on those 2. That's not the norm, but we find to be flexible and try to be taking a more humanitarian approach with dealing with people. We've had a little more success. So that's how I'm operating at the moment.
Could you tell us an example? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, John. Go ahead.
Could you tell us an example where you've used your partnerships with, other community agencies to further the effectiveness of your position and your department?
Sure. You mentioned rats earlier. That's a big concern for residents. We have a pretty good working relationship with our ACO, who he reports to the police department. We've partnered on our public access to do some PSAs on how to keep vermin out of your yard. Got a very good working relationship with the fire department. Have been able to come up with a system for identifying housing situations that require our intervention. We've educated them. There's a clutter rating system that I use that I've been able to educate them on, so now that they have a better idea of when they need to call us in. Building department, I have a very good relationship with our building commissioner, and we work with letting each other know about things that are issues. We've gone out on inspections together before. So being flexible, keeping an open line of communications with those departments has been helpful.
Sorry, Rob, did you?
So in conjunction with that, is Abington part of a collaborative?
The public health excellence, yeah, we are at the PN5. We are with Brockton, Whitman, Avon, and Stoughton.
Okay, great, all right. We are too, different group, but part of the Halifax team.
Yeah, we were the lead agency in that for a while, and that's currently in the process of switching over to Brockton. They've got a little more better resources than we do to manage the grant.
So in that collaborative, have you worked with Brockton or have any connections with their sewer commission?
We haven't, no. Most of the stuff that we've done with the coalition has been really more focused on getting the departments up on with equipment and inspection equipment and training.
Is that all set?
Anybody else? I'm good for right now. I might have a follow-up, but for right now, I'm good.
How do you keep your skills current, and do you have any skills that you would like to improve upon?
I'm always looking to improve. Currently, I attend most of the MHOA and MEHA conferences. Went to San Antonio for the Preparedness Summit just recently, and actually drove to Bloomington, Illinois 2 weeks ago for a private well conference, because that's something, there's not a lot of education in Massachusetts on private wells, so took an opportunity to go to that. Any training opportunities that I'm able to participate in, I generally do that. Things change. I'm sure you guys know there's a lot under the health department purview, so. Definite improvement, like I said, I'm doing my soil evaluator in the fall. I know that's something that I need to spend more time on. I'm working on my tier 3 for both food and housing. Just took the national certification on body art inspecting. So mostly, I would guess if there was anything I really felt I need to spend some time improving on, it would be like Title V, just because we don't do that as much in Abington. I know most communities, it seems, there's a lot of sewers around, septics, I'm sorry.
So that was going to be one of my final comments, Chris, is that whoever the candidate is, whether they have the certs or not, are going to need to get up to speed on that certification level very quickly. And I personally will do everything I can to work to get you into any classes, or anybody else who's interested in the position, into the classes that they need to take. And then there's also rumblings of having to have an RS certification down the line.
Yep.
So that's a lot of outside work. We just need to make sure that the candidate that we're going to move forward with is dedicated to putting not only the time into the job, but also the outside time into that self-education element.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a bit of a nerd in that way. I'm a fan of education. I like learning new things. And that's been a big focus of our department, is getting our folks trained on as much different, as possible.
It's just something I'm a huge believer in. When I first got onto the Board of Health, that was one of the first things I did, is I went out and I got my systems inspector's license. And then one of the hardest things I did was get soil evaluator. Is when you're out there and climbing in and out of the holes, and you got a bunch of young scientists and mineralists and all the rest of it. And it was quite an experience, but it's helped me in this job, and I've enjoyed it. But again, I'm a true believer of continuing on that self-education path.
I think I just had one other question, and then if, unless anyone else can think of something, we'll turn it over to you for some questions. But do you have any experience with grants in terms of researching, applying, monitoring, that type of thing?
I haven't really. So the PHE grant was already in the works when I joined the department. Our health department oversees trash and recycling in Abington. So I work on our recycling dividend program grant every year. As far as researching new grants, we haven't really had an opportunity, so that's definitely an area for growth. And probably more and more necessary going forward.
All right. Anyone else? Going once, going twice?
I'm good.
Chris, do you have any questions for us?
I was kind of curious, so like budget-wise, you guys have a certain amount budgeted for education in the department? I'm presuming it's just currently a health agent. There's a public health nurse,
Yeah.
and then the admin.
Right. We don't really have a,
So our budget, we do have budget for some training, but same as you mentioned in Abington, level funded, we are level also here too, so
Yeah.
there's not a significance. But working with HPHEG, with the grant program, they are working collaboratively so that there is some funding for training that they're doing, so. So we're grateful for them.
Yep.
And they help in regards to that. But we do, it's a small, it's not a significant budget. But working through HPHEG, we can somehow see what we can bring on board.
Okay. Do you know offhand like how many food establishments you have in town? I know you guys get a lot of septic.
So we do, so the food establishments, but the permits, they're all there, because there's multiple permits within inside the food establishments, whether if they have milk and cream and if they have, so, but roughly there's like 60. So every October, the end of October, November is when I gear back up and we get everything, and all of our letters are going out. We are in the process right now of going electronic. That's kind of been put on the back burner until we can have the health agent, because in the position it's the health agent and the admin.
Yeah.
So that's been, but I believe that we're gonna try to get our food inspection should be online. So the goal would be for us just to get that going online and seeing how that goes. As far as all the rest of the other forms and everything, there's gonna be a need to work on that.
Okay. Yeah, we're all paper in our department right now.
Yep.
Body art, you said body art
We have
shops?
body art, we have two.
Two.
We have just 2 body arts. And what we've done too is that everything is it's online, it's on our shared drive. So anytime, so especially too, because as they were mentioned in regards to the Title V, the plan reviews, anytime a resident, engineer, anyone requests information, we'll always scan it in, and then we electronically file it. So almost 3 years' worth of electronic files are there. But body arts 2, foods around 60. Then we do the mobile foods. The mobile foods, we partner. I think they changed it, but they would typically do one big one inspection in Hanover, and then we
yep.
do it individually as they come in. I know there's going to be one tomorrow. We're going to have one in the parking lot doing a food inspection, so it's quite busy. But everyone we work with is great.
Yep. Yeah, food truck
Really
guys are
Yeah.
good. Pre-rental inspections, is that?
They
Is that a thing?
haven't done, I know that we've probably done maybe 1 or 2 pre-rental inspections in the past, since I've been here. I'll be here 3 years in November. And I know definitely they did 1, but I believe that there might have been a second one, but it's not a frequent,
Okay.
for us right now.
Right, I know our board was considering at one point pre-rental inspections for all rental units whenever it goes vacant, they go in and get inspected.
That's a big task.
Yeah, nice. I'm trying to get body art regs passed right now. That's our main thing. And I guess one thing I'm curious at, so in Abington, our Board of Health is regulatory. My position, I answer to the town manager, not a board. And I think that health
So-
agent answers to the board.
You would be answering, so directly,
Directly with you
both
guys.
positions report directly to the board.
Okay.
And typically to the chair. The chair changes typically every year. We've just had a new election. Tom just re-upped for 3 years. And so right now, the board made a decision to keep Tom in the chair position until we can get the health agent on board, just for consistency. But typically, everything, yes, and up there, it's the health agent and the admin working collaboratively as a team together.
Yep.
And making sure that we're there to support the residents, the contractors, engineers.
Okay.
And I know the plan reviews is really big. I mean, we get plan reviews in all the time. And the plan reviews in regards to the board, so typically when the plan review will come in, the health agent will review them, you'll reach out to the engineer. I mean, they're already stamped by the engineer, so there's septic design plans, they'll come in. And typically, there's a lot of lately there's variance requests on them. So you would have to go over the variances, but once again, like, we have our partners with HPHEG, you have the engineers that you can speak with, and then typically, the health agent then will write up their review of the plan. And so then that review will go on for the agenda, will go in front of the board, because the board, any local variances, the board will be approving. And the health agent will be presenting it to the board for approval, but knowing that you've already gone through the whole process of the review.
Yep. Okay.
So, and we have people coming in, asking questions, how big the septics, right now, all the ADUs that are coming in.
You guys getting a lot of ADUs?
We're not getting, I wouldn't say a lot, but yes, there's chatter, people are coming in now, just, wanting to look at the septic, have questions in regards to that, the size, really. So, yeah, we're doing that.
Cool. How much oversight do you typically have? I mean, do you guys work closely with the health agent as well?
I mean, I think mostly the chairman, the rest of the board is usually more just on the, the meetings and approvals, things like that. I mean, I say I've been in the office a good bit, since I've been in the chairman's position, and especially now that we've been, short-staffed. So, we're kind of being as hands-on as we can be. I mean, I don't think there's a ton of day-to-day oversight from the board. I like to just be sort of kept informed of what's going on. If there's anything any issues with coverage if you guys are going in 3 different directions. And we may have someone reach out or that's trying to get, an answer to something. We do what we can to step up, or at least let people know that, as soon as we can get back to you, we will, that type of thing.
Yeah, okay. And on-call, yep, sorry, Rob?
No, I was just gonna reiterate what Tom said, so
The health agent and the chair works closely. I have a little bit more flexibility in my schedule, so I'll fill in wherever I can. And then, but we're just about ready to rotate the chair position. But that's, I think the board tries to do its best to, as Tom said, stay back, be informed, and be there as a support mechanism whenever we can.
Okay. I get a good relationship with the board. I think you know our chair, Aaron Christian. Know him for Scouts?
I'm sorry?
I was gonna say the chair.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Right, I didn't want to bring that up. I didn't recognize, when I was first going through the resumes, like the name is not the first thing I flipped to. I was looking for certain certifications, certain experience, so on and so forth. And then when we got to this final list, I'm going, oh my gosh, that's Chris Schultz. And usually I see you with a 41 ball cap on, but I don't want to take up
Yeah.
I don't want to take up time. Yeah, so.
Okay, so it's an on-call position, I assume?
Well, the way that it is written in the job description, but typically you would end up having a phone. So a separate work phone, and you would get calls on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But all the department heads and everyone, you would be working with them, like every department head is very cooperative, like and very open, and to meet for support. The building department's right across from us. Planning's right across from us. Conservation, we have Charlie down here. His door's always open.
Good.
So there's a lot of support that's here.
Good, good. Yeah, it seems like a good little town. Would your population?
That I'm not from the town.
14,400 or so.
There you
Okay,
go.
so Abington 17, so we're roughly about the same size.
Yeah.
That was really all the questions I had.
All right. Just a couple of closing details. I just want to reiterate that it's a full-time position. It's 35 hours a week, and it's a non-union position. And one question for you: if we were to offer you the position, when would you be available to begin?
We're fully staffed right now. I'd have to give at least a 2-week notice, but I've got some flexibility and I've got some time off coming, so I could probably do 2 weeks. I know you guys have nobody right now, so.
No, we do not.
Right.
Actually, I shouldn't say that, you know what, because we'll give a shout out. We do. HVACG, they stepped up. We have, so we're utilizing the health agents that are out there to do our plan reviews, to take our housing calls, everything that we need to keep the department running. We are so grateful. Eric Badger has stepped up above and beyond for us, and so we have the full support. So it's just that physically not here.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, our regional group has just been excellent.
That's awesome.
For a couple of times now to really help support us when we've had people out, and just really support us if we need an extra set of eyes or just a group to bounce some ideas off of, and ask about best practices, things like that. So they've been really strong for us. So
I guess I should ask that with your shared services group. Do you know, are they moving towards like a shared services model?
Well, they already are in a shared. Well, let me back up.
Yeah.
What is your definition of a shared service?
Like one of the things, before we sort of stalled on ours, we were looking at hiring a shared social worker and inspector
Yes.
for the communities to share.
So they're still in the process of hiring a public health nurse. They do have on board a food inspector. And right now, that's where it's stopping. I know the public health nurse position is still not filled to date. And I think that's a hot topic right now. We're looking for a public health nurse as well.
Yeah.
So they do the shared services, but that's where they're
Where the-
stopping right now.
They're ahead of us, so that's,
Okay, yeah, no, they're amazing. They really are. We couldn't do this without them.
Yeah, we'd be in a very different position, I think, at this point, if we didn't have them to lean on, so.
Yeah.
Just the other thing, in terms of schedules, we are open here at the Town Hall from 8:30 a.m. on Monday to 8 p.m. With a 1-hour unpaid lunch. Then Tuesdays through Thursdays, it's 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. with, again, a 1-hour unpaid lunch. And then Friday is a short day, 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m.
okay.
So that works for you?
Yeah, we're the same, except we're just 8 to 4:30 Monday through Thursday, and then half days on Fridays.
Gotcha.
That's fine.
All right, and then obviously, if we were to make you an offer, it would be contingent on a query requirement, and then paperwork with the treasurer's and the collector's office. And in terms of next steps, I mean, as you know, we don't have a health agent, so we are trying to move the process forward pretty quickly, and so you should hear back from us, if not the end of this week, probably the end of next week,
Okay.
if that makes sense. All right.
Sounds good.
All right, well, it's been great to have you in. Thanks for coming in and meeting with us.
Thanks for taking
We
the time.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, Chris, appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Rob. Good seeing you.
Dave Merriman.
Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
Thank you. We have a scout meeting to go to now. All right, take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. All right,
Before you close,
Yep.
why don't you
Oh.
have a discussion with the board in regards to how you want to go about,
yeah, good point. So, so I guess our next, our next step is to discuss our own next steps internally, and how we want to go about sort of making a decision, if we want to make a final decision now, if we want to, or not necessarily now, meaning right now, but at this point, do we want to go back? Do we want to re-interview anybody? Do we want to do anything else before we make a final decision? And I know that the idea of having another meeting on next Monday to fully discuss the candidates and sort of figure out what we want to do has been floated. I mean, I would be okay with that. Theoretically, we could schedule an open meeting and then an executive session to sort of make a decision and then discuss, what kind of offer we want to make.
So
If
your
we
decision
feel we're
would-
ready.
Your decision would be made in open meeting. If you go into executive session, you would, correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie, from last night, executive session would solely be just in regards to putting
A contract
a
together,
contract
so setting
together.
a salary range, things like that.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. The one other thing, though, next Monday is our rabies clinic. Dr. Bonnie has it hands down, does it, her and her whole volunteer staff, they take care of everything. I would just want to just make sure that they're up to speed and they don't need anything, so
Right.
that starts at 5 o'clock. So if you were going to do next Monday, I think the best time would probably be like a 6 o'clock timeframe. And then I'm gonna have to check, is the planning board upstairs? I didn't think they were, so we would move it into the second floor conference room. But I would suggest 6 o'clock, just so that we can make sure that the rabies clinic is up and running, they don't need anything.
Yeah, they're not waiting on us.
And that a board member can go by too, because it's a great function that they put on.
Does that make sense, or any?
It does. No, I'm all in favor of that. So that if we need to or want to, we can stop by the rabies clinic, just say hello, and don't come here. We'll come back to town hall and finish up what we need to do. We'll have an open session, We'll have an executive session planned if needed. If not, not needed.
Yeah, if not, we'll figure out our next course of action. All right, I think that makes sense. Does 6 o'clock work for everybody?
It'll be 6 o'clock in this, I'll just.
Upstairs?
Upstairs in the second
This won't be live.
Can still be recorded?
Oh,
Recorded, but it can't be live.
Okay, is that okay, Charlie?
Yeah.
As long as it's recorded?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yep, okay, so,
yeah,
So
that
if
should
you
work
wanna
for
make-
me, so, all
are
right.
you able to?
Yeah, I can do that. All right, so we will be back 6 p.m. Well, we won't be live, but we'll be in open session upstairs at the town hall at 6 p.m. Next Monday. And with that, I will make a motion to close the meeting and adjourn for the evening.
I'll second that.
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. We'll close out our meeting for June 3rd, and we will be back
Monday.
next Monday, or if you're tuning in from home, whenever we get our meeting posted.